about to hear is by way of research done by many who have had to surmount the numerous obstacles put in their path, possibly put in place to inhibit our way of thinking and to stop us deciding for ourselves how we wish to live. Above all, keep your mind open.
Before I start tonight's conspiracy theory, I would like to add that this is all declassified information because it is to do with the CIA. You may or may not have heard of Project Mkultra. It was the code name for a covert illegal CIA human research program run by the Office of Scientific Intelligence. This official US government program began in the early 1950s, continuing at least through to the late 60s, and it used US and Canadian citizens as its test subjects. The published evidence indicates that Project Mkultra involved the use of many mythologies to manipulate individual mental states and alter brain functions, including the surreptitious administration of drugs and other chemicals, sensory deprivation, isolation, and both verbal and sexual abuse. Project Mkultra was first brought to wide public attention in 1975 by the US Congress through investigations by the Church Committee and by a presidential commission known as the Rockefeller Commission. Investigative efforts were hampered by the fact that CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all Mkultra files destroyed in 1973. The Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission investigations relied on the sworn testimony of direct participants and on the relatively small number of documents that survived Helms' destruction order. In 1977, a Freedom of Information Act request uncovered a cache of 20,000 documents relating to Project Mkultra, which led to the Senate hearings of 1977. In recent times, most information regarding Mkultra has been officially declassified. From 1953 to 1964, the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, conducted dozens of experiments on the effects of biological and chemical agents on American citizens without their knowledge in Project Mkultra. These covert tests included subjecting the unwitting subjects to hallucinogenic drugs such as LSD and other chemicals, amongst other things. Officially authorised in 1953, by 1955 the Project Creep had expanded the CIA's authority under Mkultra to include the following: discovery of the following materials and methods, including those which will promote the intoxicating effect of alcohol, which will render the induction of hypnosis easier or otherwise enhance its usefulness, which will enhance the ability of individuals to withstand privation, torture and coercion during interrogation and so-called brainwashing, which will also produce an amnesia for effects preceding and during their use, and which will produce shock and confusion over extended periods of time and capable of surreptitious use, and finally, which will produce physical disablement such as paralysis of the legs, acute anemia, etc. For many of these drug tests, especially early on, there were no medical personnel on hand either to administer the drugs or observe their effects. Often, the randomly selected subjects had become ill for hours or days, including hospitalisation in at least one case. Even more troubling, some of the tests proved lethal, but that did not stop the CIA from continuing their experimentation. One of these lives belonged to Dr. Frank Olson, himself a researcher with the US Army, who studied developing techniques for offensive use of biological weapons and biological research for the CIA. Along with a group of 9 other scientists, he attended a conference in a cabin at Deep Creek Lake in Maryland in November 1953. Once there, ironically, CIA operatives spiked the researchers' Cointreau with LSD. Only after the scientists had finished their drinks were they informed that they had been drugged. Most of the researchers handled their experience well and had no after effects, but not Dr. Olson. He never recovered from the ordeal and shortly after the experiment began to show symptoms of paranoia and schizophrenia. Dr. Olson's superior and CIA, who ran the experiment, arranged for him to get treatment in New York City. While spending the night in a hotel room with the CIA officer, and after requesting a wake-up call for the next morning, Dr. Olson somehow managed to fall to his death. There is no indication that any investigation of foul play, particularly by the CIA officer who was both responsible for the experiment and alone in the hotel room with Olson, was ever conducted. Although the CIA insists that Mkultra type experiments have been abandoned, 14-year CIA veteran Victor Marchetti has stated in various interviews that the CIA routinely conducts disinformation campaigns and that CIA mind control research continued. In 1977 interview, Marchetti specifically called the CIA claim that Mkultra was abandoned a cover story. At this point, you may like to recall Frank Zappa's sage advice. He said, "The illusion of freedom will continue as long as it's profitable to continue the illusion. At the point where the illusion becomes too expensive to maintain, they will just take down the scenery, they will pull back the curtains, they will remove the tables and chairs out of the way, and you will see a brick wall at the back of the theatre."
Keep your mind open.